preside as a member presiding. Honorable Kwesi, the member of Parliament for Sumi East, is a fourth-term member of Parliament, and he is also my immediate boss.
Right, and we'll on behalf of colleagues to take the chair today. Honorable Chairman, to take the seat on behalf of colleagues for today's proceedings.
Honorable members, Honorable Chairman has been nominated and seconded as presiding member for this sitting.
Pray. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity, purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Oh, righteous where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty where evil and poverty to the deserving, a country of peace where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people that they may
Mr. Speaker, being the chairman of the Blue Caucus, we are so proud of you this morning. Unfortunately, we have lost one position as a ministerial position, but we are honored this morning for you being the chair. And I think this, your constituents, I hope they are watching you and they have to reward you as such. Thank you very much.
I appreciate all of you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In the steps of my colleague, the Bono mates, I wish to congratulate you on this obvious and historic landmark. I think this is good because it's refreshing to sometimes have fresh faces, a fresh seat in the chair. I hope this will continue so that your sometimes objective stand on issues will continue to permeate in this house. Where sometimes we become so partisan with issues, you sit in the chair, I'm very sure that you will continue to illuminate that objectivity that we need in order to drive this house. I will say that I'm with you and I'm going to support you in your primaries. Congratulations.
Yeah. I'm grateful. Honorable members, shall we consider the votes and proceedings of yesterday? Page 1. Page 2. Honorable Samson Ahid.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Before we move to the correction, I just wanted to find out from you if there is a message from the President. Because there are a lot of colleagues who are waiting for a message from the President to be assured that they will be part of, they are secured in government. So that's what we find out if you have a message from the President with regards to reshuffle. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't have any communication from the President. Thank you. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the following persons were here, but they've been marked absent. Honorable Ashai Odampton.
Honorable Member, which page are you referring us to?
Come again.
Which page are you
8.
referring us to?
8.
Page 8.
Absent, yes, please. Honorable Ashai Odampton, Honorable James Agalga, and Honorable Jifa Gomashi, they were all present. Thank you.
Table office, take note accordingly. Page 9. Honorable Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, sorry to take you back. Page 7. Minority Leader is absent with permission. So if table office. Right.
Thank you. The table office will take note and effect the necessary correction. Page 10. 11, page 12, yes.
Thank you very much,
Honorable
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also congratulate you on this historic feat. Mr. Speaker, item number VI on page 12. I know my colleague knows I will be on the lookout for him. The spelling of Nelson, Mr. Roxon Nelson, Eche Kwame Dafiameko, not Nexon. So if that can be corrected.
Table office take note and effect the correction. Page 13.
I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, item number 3, IV, and V. Looks like somebody at the table office is doing their own reshuffle. So, Mr. Speaker, if you avert your mind to II, Mr. Yao Frimpong Ado, we have the Honorable MP and Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture. Then the 3 MPs who follow, they have all been described as MP and Deputy Ministers for Food and Agriculture, which is not the case. Honorable Alexander Roosevelt Hotoja, my neighbor, the Central Town MP, I can't imagine that President Akufo-Addo will appoint an NDC MP, as Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture. Yes, so Mr. Speaker, we need to correct these 3. The IIIIV, they are MPs. So we should just have honorable MPs. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for drawing attention to that omission. The table office will have to insert the proper designations for those 3 members of parliament. Page 14. '15. '16. '17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23. 'So that brings to the end the consideration of the votes and proceedings. Honorable members, it's time for the business statement for the ensuing week. So, leadership.
Mr. Speaker,
Deputy Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, with your leave, the Deputy Whip would proceed to do that on behalf of the Chair of the Committee.
So, Deputy Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Thursday 15th, your committee arranged the business of the House.
Honorable Deputy Majority Whip, if you may resume your seat. Honorable Roxanne.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, it's a matter of standard practice that members should be given copies of the business. We don't have copies. We don't have copies at all.
My information that they have been supplied in your pigeonholes.
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, they don't have copies. Don't have copies.
Can we give ourselves some 2-3 minutes to give copies to members who don't have them, so that we can proceed with the business statement? Honorable members, we may proceed with the business statement now. Deputy Majority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Thursday, 15th February 2024, your committee met and arranged for the third week ending Friday, 23rd February 2023.
Just a minute.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, Mr. Speaker, the business statement is not legible. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we can't read the business statement in portions.
It is only your copy.
I can't read in portions, Mr. Speaker. I mean, Mr. Speaker, I cannot read in portions in nearly all the pages. I can't read it.
How come mine is
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
It's only your copy.
It's Parliament. Mr. Speaker.
It's only your copy.
It's not. Look at leaders' copies. I mean, Mr. Speaker, this is unacceptable.
How come mine is clear?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some of us don't even have copies of the business statement.
Mr. Speaker, clearly the economy is telling on the quality of the business statement that will be given. Things are so bad. Things are so bad, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure your copy is just like mine, Mr. Speaker. Things are so bad, really. Things are really so bad.
Honorable Mutala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Some of us don't even have copies. I ran to the pigeonhole like Usain Bolt without a copy. Many of us don't have copies. So I think that we should take our time. We have the entire day to work. We have been paid to work as members of Parliament. I don't know where the rush is. We are willing to sit here up to 6 p.m. Let's get the copies first before we can have, except that we have been discriminated against. I don't want a shared copy. I want to have my own copy. I don't want a shared copy. I want to have my own copy. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't have copy. My friends, in fact, the leadership don't even have copies.
I'm bringing you a copy.
Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I have two copies. Clear, legible, readable, 2 copies. And so, with your permission, I'll give one to Honorable Dapiamako and give the second one to Honorable Mr.
Thank you for that generosity. Thank you for the generosity. Honorable, you may proceed with the reading of the business statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, your committee met yesterday, Thursday, 15 February 2024, and arranged the business of the House for the third week ending February 23rd, Friday 2024. Mr. Speaker, the committee accordingly submit its report. Whilst I limit myself to part of the report, I urge the Hansard Department to capture the entirety of the report. Mr. Speaker, a total of 37 questions have been admitted, 7 from the Attorney General, 10 from Ministry of Energy, 10 from Ministry of Education, 10 from the Ministry of Roads and Highway. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Orders 91-2, statements may be made by Ministers of State or admitted by yourself. Bills, papers, motions and resolutions can also be made. Mr. Speaker, orientation and workshop on the revised standing orders. Mr. Speaker, as members may recall, you informed the House on Wednesday, 14 February 2024, that in consultation with the leadership, an orientation workshop is being organized for honorable members and staff to take through the new standing or revised standing orders which come into effect on Tuesday, 2nd January 2024. The Business Committee takes this opportunity to remind the House that the first part of the said orientation workshop is scheduled for tomorrow, 17th to the 18th of February 2024 at the Volta Serene Hotel. Who honorable members and staff of the Parliamentary Service selected to be part of the first batch of the orientation workshop should be communicated to appropriately. There will be a second leg that will happen at the Rock City Hotel between Friday 23rd to Sunday 25th of February 2024. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 2162 and subject to Standing Order 67, the committee submit to the House the order in which the business of the House shall be taken during the week. I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Whip. Honorable members, the business statement has been submitted and the floor is open for comments and contributions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have 2 issues. First is about the orientation workshop on the revised standing orders. In the report, it is said Friday 16th to Sunday 18th February. But the presented report said tomorrow. We want to find out, is tomorrow in the morning or in the evening? We want a clarification on that, because we're only hearing tomorrow. What time is the reporting hour tomorrow? Then number 2, for the past 2 weeks, the chairman of the Committee on Finance was to make a presentation of some papers. One of them is the report of the Finance Committee on the earmarked funds capping and realignment amendment bill 2022. For the 2 weeks, we have not seen the Finance Committee chairman to do that. But if you look at the order paper for next week critically, it is not mentioned at all that it will be presented. We want to find out if it will be probably out of the blue or in the proceedings of the week, it will appear on the order paper for presentation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Haruna Idrisu.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I have 2 issues. One, I have filed a private member's amendment to the chieftaincy bill, which is seeking to amend paragraph D of section 63 of the Chieftaincy Act of 2008 to bring it in tandem with the ruling of the Supreme Court in Nana Agyemang versus the Attorney General. And by this inviting the Attorney General and the Minister for Justice and the Minister for Chieftaincy to take particular interest in this bill and probably own it in order that our laws and the laws affecting the institution of chieftaincy and Article 270 of the Constitution is consistent with the ruling of the Supreme Court on that matter. But why I raise this issue, Mr. Speaker, is that I want to know the status. I know that the draft section, Parliament Legislative Drafting Office, have been working very closely with me. I want to know the status of it and when it is programmed for consideration by the House. But as I have said, I want the Minister for Chieftaincy and the Attorney General to co-own it, or probably even drive that important amendment, because chieftaincy remains an important institution. Mr. Speaker, my second, I would have wished that the table office gave me a copy of the President's reshuffle to this House. Mr. Speaker, there is a Supreme Court ruling which defines prior approval as term of art. Now, in the President's communication to Parliament, we need to have clarity on three important issues. A minister being moved to another ministry, having been approved by Parliament as a minister, is an automatic seamless movement to that ministry. But, Mr. Speaker, how does that sit with Parliament's new standing orders of newly composed committees of Parliament to consider those appointments? Then, Mr. Speaker, too, we need clarity to know, for instance, Minister for Finance, when does he assume full responsibility? So the words in the President's letter will have meaning for us. We need to know. If the President says that the appointment takes effect from 14 February, which is his Valentine reshuffle of a late reshuffle of a lame duck president, we understand. But he must give us that effective 14 February, all those ministers whose own is just a matter of shifting those chairs appropriately are dealt with in law. Then those that will be subjected to Parliament's Appointments Committee, which is the new Appointments Committee to be composed by Parliament, we need to have clarity on it. So I was going to ask table, if you have the President correspondence, share a copy with me so that we know the words the President used. That mandate is not solely an executive presidential prerogative. It's a shared mandate, and it's a shared mandate with the Parliament of Ghana. So for us, what does prior approval mean? What does prior approval mean? For Minister for Finance, we need to know, when does Ken bow out? Is it the day of the announcement on the floor? Did the President communicate a date to this House? We need to know. Because, Mr. Speaker, we want to hold ministers responsible from the day of effective assumption of leadership of their roles in those offices. Then the confusion in this House, new standing orders. And, Mr. Speaker, to warn, member presiding, to warn that some of the provisions of Parliament standing orders are verbatim lifts of words from the Constitution. And therefore, this House must be guided that there is no postponement of any provision of this Constitution. Some of the provisions in the standing orders, as ordinarily as they may be, are lifted, to quote somebody, I won't use that word. Honorable Patrick, I would have said in toto, I won't use it. But verbatim is quoted. So please, we need to know. So table, share the President's correspondence to the Speaker. And now, Mr. Speaker, we need to know, when he wrote 14 February, does it mean that every minister announced here who has to move assumes office effective 14 February, or the President communicated a date in his correspondence to Parliament? Then those to be subjected to vetting by Parliament's approval process of prior approval as defined by the Supreme Court in Kwame Pepro, J. Mensah versus Attorney General, as was pronounced by the Supreme Court, will know. Mr. Speaker, these are my observations. J. Mensah versus the record should capture the correct rendition. Now, thank you, Mr.
Deputy Majority Leader.
No, let me. Mr. Speaker,
The submission made by Honorable Haruna Idrisu was outside of the business statement. But, Mr. Speaker, it's important that since he's seeking clarity, it is important that the clarity is given to him. Fortunately, he considered that he hasn't seen the letter, and that is why he called on table office to assist him. But in order not to make the matters belated, I have with me the response, because the letter is here. The President said with immediate effect. So there is no ambiguity. The letter is dated 14th, but the lawyer in him made sure that the communication was clear, that with immediate effect. So the matter should be put to rest. The second point has to do with the appointment committee. Mr. Speaker has communicated that the appointment committee should get to business and deal with the issue. With a new, yes, should be constituted. He said so. The leadership should ensure that the committees are properly constituted to deal with it. So I won't belabor the second point. The first point is we have a functional president whose mandate ends come 6th of January 2025. He's not a lame duck, and he's communicated with clarity, save that you have not seen that letter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dafe Mapo.
Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on the business statement ably presented by the second deputy majority whip. Mr. Speaker, in related to the comments made by the former minority leader, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, in respect of seeking clarity, Mr. Speaker, a certain very strange procedure has been pursued by the presidency, and I speak particularly in respect of the release that was given on the 14th of February in respect of the number of ministers that have been relieved of their duties. Mr. Speaker, let me anchor this matter within the premise of Article 81 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, Article 81 of the Constitution is the effect that the office of a Minister of State or a Deputy Minister shall become vacant if A, his appointment is revoked by the President. Mr. Speaker, the President issued a letter publicly indicating the number of ministers that whose appointments he has revoked with immediate effect. Mr. Speaker, the meaning can only be that those number of ministers and the names of the ministers whose names appear on that release, they be immediately relieved of their post. But Mr. Speaker, a very strange happening. The communication proceeded further to say that some 5 ministers whose names appeared among those who have been relieved of their post immediately have rather been reassigned. Mr. Speaker, by operation of law, when the President says that he has revoked your appointment, you are no longer a Minister of State. You are no longer a Minister of State. And so there's no way the President can say that he is reassigning those persons. So I am saying, on the authority of the Constitution, that those persons' appointments have been revoked by the President. But the Constitution mandates him to reappoint them. But that reappointment must be subject to the parliamentary scrutiny of this House. So we are demanding that those 5 ministers that he supposedly has reassigned, they must be subjected to parliamentary vetting. That is the procedure. Those 5 ministers cannot escape parliamentary scrutiny because he used the phrase, they have been relieved of their post with immediate effect. Once the publication has been pushed out, they have exited office. So the presidency cannot by any stretch of imagination of the Constitution, purport to reassign those ministers of state. They were no longer ministers of state. After the pen has been applied to the letter revoking the appointment, but the Constitution mandates him to reappoint them if he so decides. So the meaning being conveyed by the subsequent communications to the effect that they have been reappointed. So we are saying that as an organ of state, we will do our duty under the Constitution. We will demand that those 5 ministers of state, their names will further be remitted to Parliament for us to vet them for the appropriate course to be taken. Mr. Speaker, I humbly submit in this matter. I thank you for the opportunity. And Mr. Speaker, let me add that if this call is not heeded, Mr. Speaker, we will proceed to the Supreme Court for interpretation. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by quoting holding 3 of the famous J.H. Mensah versus Attorney General in a similar circumstances, and this was what the Supreme Court said. It says that Article 78 and 79(1) of the Constitution 1992, which provided that the President should appoint his ministers and deputy ministers with the prior approval of Parliament, did not draw a distinction between fresh and reappointed candidates. Consequently, both a new or reappointed candidate should obtain the prior approval of Parliament. And I'm saying that the supposedly reassigned ministers, they were not reassigned. At the time of the reassignment, the appointments has been revoked by the President. Mr. Speaker, I so submit. I thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, and then I will hear Honorable Afenyo Makin for the last on this matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for making history. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, I must congratulate you on your new role. Mr. Speaker, as you know, and as members in this House will want to know, Bono region or Bono Hafu will always make history, and you have made it this morning. Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, the first majority leader in this House in the Fourth Republic in 1993 was Honorable J.H. Osua Champon from the Bono Hafu region. Mr. Speaker, the first minority leader also in this Fourth Republic in 1997 was Honorable J.H. Mensah, Mr. Speaker, from Bono Hafu region. And the first member presiding is Honorable Ambeya Trembe from Sunyani. Mr. Speaker, congratulations. And for those who don't know, Mr. Speaker was my A-level government teacher. So all that I'm doing is what Mr. Speaker who taught me. Mr. Speaker, I just want to make a few comments on the business statement. Looking at the calendar of this first session, we have barely 4 or 5 weeks to go on adjournment. However, we have major formula to approve in this House. And one of them is the formula for the distribution of this Assembly Common Fund. Another is the formula for the distribution of the Ghana Educational Trust Fund, GET Fund. And the last is the National Health Insurance formula. Mr. Speaker, on the 27th, His Excellency the President of the Republic will be presenting to this House his message on the state of the nation, which will also be debated. Mr. Speaker, we also have some major bills to approve before we go on adjournment. So if you look at the business statement, I will need a fair information from the government bench. When are those heads of those agencies, the administrator for the Common Fund, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Fund, and the GET Fund administrator, when are they presenting their formula for the Parliament to approve them before we can adjourn coming next month for the Easter break. Mr. Speaker, once we have no idea, looking at what is happening now as a deputy whip, I will opine that within next week, this House will be able to fund itself into joint caucus meeting. Mr. Speaker, our brothers from the majority have just come from primaries. Definitely, as a whip, there's work to be done. So we need to hold the House together, and we need to have fair information about these processes. And Mr. Speaker, there's a reshuffle in the Ministry of Finance. However, whoever is proceeding from there also need to be given some information, and if possible, he needs to engage leadership or the House, the leadership of the government bench, so that we'll be able to carry the House along. Other than that, looking at the magnitude of work that we are carrying, which has to be executed before 21st March, Mr. Speaker, having sat on this bench for a long period, and Mr. Speaker, having been the government chief whip in the 7th Parliament, you yourself, you know that there's work to be done. So I will want the Deputy Majority Leader or my good brother, Honorable Abi, to make sure that we program a day along next week from Tuesday to Friday for the House to go into a joint caucus meeting. There are serious issues that members are bringing to us. Some of the defects in the Job 600, where members cannot even sit in their offices. We can combine this together with the other issues and hold a joint caucus meeting to address them before 27th. Other than that, Mr. Speaker, we'll be here on the 27th. It is not just a matter of His Excellency the President carrying the state of the nation that I'm coming to present. We have to hold the House together and go along with him. And Mr. Speaker, you know that there are roadblocks, and these roadblocks must be removed before 27th. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Honorable Deputy Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to respond to the constitutional issue raised by my colleague, Defiamako. It's always a delight to listen to him. But I think on this occasion, something eluded him, and I want to point that out. Mr. Speaker, the basic rule of interpretation is that we look at the document as a whole. We don't have to disjointly read. When we disjointly read the document, we are likely to mislead those who are to listen to us. The President used one communication to communicate his intent and his decision. The words he used were relief, that he has relieved them of their portfolio. Roxanne, you would have to keep quiet and listen. That he has relieved them of their portfolio in government. And in the same communication, the next paragraph, he again conveyed to us that these people have been reassigned. Anyway, you are free to go to the Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, I won't belabor.
Honorable Minority Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank the Right Honourable Speaker Bagbin, the clerks and colleagues for the background work this morning that led to a seamless transition to apply Order 12.4, which I'm told is historic. So I want to thank Right Honourable Speaker who actually initiated this, and Mrs. Speaker, the clerks, and everybody working together with colleagues. We are very grateful, and this is another notch in the democracy of our country. Mr. Speaker, I have two issues. I have a draft program for the weekend, which is the retreat to update colleagues' knowledge about the new standing orders, which we all agree is very important. Until yesterday, we thought the check-in was supposed to be this evening. But as it turns out, the hotel could not give us the opportunity to check in today, so we are all checking in tomorrow. The challenge, though, is that we do have part of the programs for the workshop starting tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So just want to draw the attention of colleagues that, at least on my side, 100 people have indicated their intention to participate in phase 1. So those 100 people are currently known to the clerkship for them to be taken care of. But the program starts at 11 o'clock tomorrow. But don't be surprised if there's a delay, because members will now have to travel from wherever they are to Ho. So the 11 o'clock is a bit ambitious, but we can manage. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, Honorable Ahmed, raised an issue. As a matter of fact, the Common Fund Administration is in huge arrears to the assemblies and commitment to members in terms of the 5% that is due to us for us to do the little intervention. He's already indicated the need for us to have a kind of interaction with those leading these statutory funds. And I've also heard from colleagues, if the president wants a cordial relationship during the presentation of the State of the Nation address, then he must ensure that the Common Fund fully discharges their responsibility to the district assemblies and the portion that goes to members before 27. It's just an advice that for him to have a good relationship when he comes to the House, he's got opportunity from now to 27 to make sure the Common Fund Administration discharges their responsibility towards the district assemblies. No more hanky-panky where they will rush and say they are paying 1 month, like 1 quarter, discharge on all of it. Otherwise, the whips cannot help, because members can only accommodate that much. Mr. Speaker, imagine the school building in somebody's constituency's roof has been ripped off. They call upon the colleague, he went there. He says, we'll use Common Fund to replace your roof. The assembly have gone ahead to provide, select the person who will do it. And for 6 months, there's no money at assembly for them to pay for the re-roofing of this school. The colleague is under pressure for having made a promise which cannot be fulfilled. Meanwhile, the promise didn't come from him. The taxes that amount to Common Fund are not now being collected, Mr. Speaker. The government has already collected the taxes. So when we demand this, we are not actually begging government to help us. It is taxes government, the people of this country have already paid, which the finance minister has already collected. It's in the bosom of government. So it is illegal for the government to withhold the disbursement of these funds through the Common Fund. So, Mr. Speaker, we are ready to cooperate with government. But when it comes to a point where members are being disabled from performing their duties because government is reneging on her promise or her responsibility of disbursing these funds, which are statutory funds, I think the government can do better. I don't believe government is broke, because we can see government still spending on things that they prioritize. As for the statutory funds, it is not a choice, it's a mandate, and the government must do that before 27. Otherwise, nobody should be surprised if the House is not in the shape it should be on the 27th. Mr. Speaker, I want to end here by saying that indeed, a colleague made a comment about the quality of the report that was. I wonder how the Deputy Whip was able to read what he read, because on my quite a number of words, I can only imagine what was supposed to be there. The words actually didn't appear. So we hope that in the future we can do a better job. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, for some time now, members have complained about the air conditioning in their offices. It appears it's become a general problem. Mr. Speaker, the Job 600 was done not too long ago. The air conditioning is not that old. All we need is a way of probably improving it. Colleagues are struggling in their offices. So if the clerks and everybody can take note and see what we can do to improve ventilation in the offices. It is no longer leadership office. I'm told almost 200 offices are currently affected by that. They come every day, but when they go, then the thing falls off again. So, Mr. Speaker, with this, we appreciate your assumption of the chair, and we hope that we can implement this standing orders as we have all approved. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Whip. You may provide responses to issues raised.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the first member who asked the question with regards to the orientation at Volta Serene Hotel tomorrow. I think registration, Minority Chief Whip, my information is that registration starts at 10 a.m. and then the first session commences at 12:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. That is the information I've received from the clerk at table. And then with the other issues you raised, that has to do with outstanding statutory payments, members' offices, air conditioning and other things not working. I think the idea by the Deputy Minority Whip is a good idea. So the leadership will engage so that we can get a joint caucus tomorrow, so that next week, so that we'll be able to deliberate on these issues and find solutions to it. But I can assure you that Minority Chief Whip, that the new finance minister is a very proactive man. He is already aware. He is already aware that he needs to engage with regards to the statutory payment. It affects all of us. We are all interested in it. So definitely we will engage him, he will engage us, and we'll be able to get a solution to it. And then when I make statements, Minority Chief Whip, don't read your own meaning into it. It's in absolute text, not your own relatively interpretation of my statement. And then the former minority leader talked about the chieftaincy bill. I think the business committee, it was not before us. When it comes before us, it will be programmed. I think, Speaker, these are just the questions members raise. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of the consideration of the business statement. So the business statement is adopted for the ensuing week. Honorable members, we are honored by the visit of 3 institutions, schools. The first is Ruby Joe Education Center. You are most welcome to the Parliament of Ghana. We are happy to see you here. This school is led by Madam Adina Brown, who is the proprietress, and the number of students who have visited us this morning is 71. We are grateful for the visit. You may resume your seats. The second school is Ancilla School. It is led by Mr. Thomas Apia, who is a teacher in the school. The school is located in Dome Kwabenya, and the students number 79. You are also most welcome to the Parliament of Ghana. The third, but not the least, is Jesus Outreach Preparatory School. It is led by Mr. Agbeve Edem Joshua, who is a teacher in the school. The school is in Okaikwe North. The students number 60. You are also most welcome to the Parliament of Ghana. we are always honored to have our students in our midst, especially when you come to observe proceedings of Parliament and to learn from what we are doing here. Thank you so much. You may resume your seat. Leadership. How do we proceed from here?
Mr. Speaker, considering the fact that members will be traveling to the Volta region for the workshop tomorrow, and today, Mr. Speaker, in fact, you've shown, and we are very grateful for you presiding, and you've actually been able to discharge that, as if you've been a speaker for long. And anybody who have visited here today would think that you are even the speaker, because you've been able to preside over the House.
As the speaker.
I mean, we are the main. He's a member's presiding. Speaker, without much, at this moment, I move that this House be adjourned till next week, Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The motion for adjournment has been moved. Is somebody seconding it? Honorable Minority, Deputy Minority Whip, first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion for adjournment. And in seconding that motion, I also want to support everything that man, colleague on the other side, has said. If your teacher becomes a speaker, you will not be happy. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion for adjournment.
Thank you. The motion for adjournment has been moved and seconded. As many of you in support say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. The House is accordingly adjourned to Tuesday, the 20th of February, 2024 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon. The House is so adjourned.